Welcome to our Urban Legends podcast. I'm Dr. Gloria McDaniel Hall. I've been a teacher, a principal, and assistant superintendent, all within urban schools in Chicago and around the country. Our Urban Legends podcast is a forum for sharing ideas, strategizing together, and supporting each other as we dismantle the deficit narratives sometimes associated with urban education and discuss where and how amazing work is being done. So good afternoon, everybody. I am excited today to welcome two guests from the university where I work, that is National Louis University. And the most exciting part about this is when my work and my passions kind of come together. And I have Miss Lisa Wolf with us. She's going to tell you more about her position in a minute. And also Mr. Maurie Richie, who is at National Louis. I'm so pleased to welcome you two to this segment of Urban Legends podcast. And I think that I'm going to call this segment the University Connection. So you guys are part one of my University Connection, the first people that I've interviewed from National Louis University. So welcome.
Thank you.
So Lisa, could you start us off by briefly telling us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been at National Louis, your job duties, and all that entails?
Great, thank you so much. Well, again, my name's Lisa Wolf. I actually am proud to say I've been with National Louis for 22 years. And, I'll just share that I was driving down the road. I've worked in higher ed for most of my professional career, but I passed a sign that said National Louis. I had never heard of it and was looking for a new job. So I looked it up and I was like, oh my gosh, I love the sounds of this place. I like what I hear them saying about really what the mission is. So sure enough, they had a job opening in outreach, and I love being out and about talking to people about bettering themselves. And it was a great match. And so fast forward 22 years later, I'm still doing very similar things. And I feel like I've grown up a bit with the university and built some pretty beautiful community with different people inside and many, many students.
That's outstanding. You know what that is? It is like, it feels like you grow up at National Louis. It feels like I've grown. I've been a teacher for like so long, but it feels like I've grown as an educator since I've been there. Nice to meet you, Lisa. Okay, Maurie.
Hi, I'm Maurie Richie. I have an interesting background. I got my undergraduate degree in accounting, and I did that for 18 years. And then I said, I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
And I moved to HR. And in HR, I did on-campus recruiting, and that fast forward led me to National Louis University. Same role as Lisa. We're on the same team, outreach development specialist. And I do enjoy going out and about, speaking with people and sharing information, because a lot of times we meet people that just don't know about different opportunities and resources that are out there to help them. And the more information I can share, the better. I think I feel like I'm helping people move further along in their career.
That's amazing.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. And so I was going to ask you about how your position has evolved over time, but I think that I'm going to go to the question of, as you guys are out there, and I know the pandemic and all that entails has probably changed how you do the outreach a bit, but what are some of the things, like how could you tell people more information? What would you say? Like if they had a question about a career choice or a question about, and I know it's not just about education either, right? Like it's other careers. So could you speak to a little bit about how people could get in touch with someone who could walk them through the process?
Well, there's a whole team of us, at National Louis in enrollment, and we do become specialists in our areas. Because there's a lot of details around, the different programs. And we also want to meet people where they are. and learn more about them. So I think we do a lot of listening to stories,
Mm.
kind of listening to what people's dreams and hopes are. And, you know, like Maurie said, try to give them the resources to kind of walk them through the process of considering what the best match is for them.
Okay.
People don't always know it, you know, as they come to a university. They know they want to do something and move ahead. But oftentimes it's a process of just talking for a while and learning more about, you know, what they get excited about.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So for Maurie and I, we get to talk to people about becoming teachers, which is so incredible. And, you know, launching yourself into a career of, you know, many other things at National Louis. So
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah, yeah.
I agree. And you know, since I'm a career changer, I know what that fear is like that people have. So I try to share that story and just say, hey, I know I know how you feel, because it is scary to leave
Yes.
a background that you're comfortable with and you might have done for some time for something that you just don't know how that will turn out. And I forgot to mention, I started in October 2019 at National Louis University. So before the pandemic, our jobs have changed a lot because, you know, we were out and about, going to different schools, going to districts, meeting with a lot of different people. And then with the pandemic, we had to shift to virtual, and, you know, trying to whether make phone calls or send emails, but also try to get the same job done. It has helped in that we were able to reach more than what we did going face to face. And just listen, like Lisa said, listening to people. What do they want to do? And I think sharing our backgrounds, and I like to share that it's been 25 years since I graduated with my
Wow.
undergrad and started my master's. And I tell them, if I can do it, there's hope for everyone. And that kind of makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. They may think, oh, well, gee, if this guy could do it, I can do it.
The sky's the limit right now.
Yes. So it's just, and then also letting them know if they want to become teachers, they know that there's a teacher shortage. So you will find a job. It's just a matter of finding the school that is the right fit. And if it's outside of education, just assuring them that it's okay to pursue your dreams. Just make sure you have answers. Try to talk to people in that profession that you're trying to get into.
Yes. So one of the things that I love about National Louis, and I know everybody says DEI and everybody's working on diversity, equity, and inclusion, but at National Louis, I'm on a number of committees and we actually are doing the work that is preparing school leaders differently to go out and really enact some of the things that we're talking about. It feels at National Louis like it's more than just talk. How has our focus on equity kind of changed your lenses a little bit as you do the work that you're doing, you know, inviting people in and hearing the stories and getting them to be career changers or learning about new careers? What are some of the focuses that, or the foci, or however you say that your department now has, now that our lenses are so like sharpened towards making things more equitable?
I think, you know, at the start of the pandemic, you know, trying to reach out to, you know, principals, assistant principals, superintendents, they had a lot on their plate. So we said, okay, we have to try something different because we're not hearing back from them, and we understand why.
Mhm. So
We said, let's start reaching out to the paraprofessionals directly. It was a slow process of going on to each school website. if the website had the name and the email address, and we started building email distribution lists and said, let's reach out directly to the paraprofessionals so they hear directly from us, invite them to information sessions to learn more about the opportunities to become a teacher, also learn about more scholarships and grants. So I think doing that helped a lot, because at least from what I've seen in the past, a lot of the paraprofessionals and teacher aides and teacher assistants are people of color. And they, a lot of times, are that constant support in the classroom. They have turnover too, don't get me wrong, but the teachers can, they move up, they move to other schools, and those paraprofessionals and teacher aides are still there. And a lot of them, they're doing the heavy lifting, and they need the opportunity to be the lead teacher, be that teacher of record in the classroom. So I think with us reaching out directly to the paraprofessionals, that I feel like we're making a bigger impact, because we're reaching people that we might not have reached before. And then there's something else we've been doing. I experiment with to see what works. As far as principals and assistant principals, when we have information sessions that are geared towards them, whether it's to get their superintendent license, I have Chicago as my territory. So we set up the information sessions. I invite them to a meeting, with the meeting being the information session. So it's on their calendar.
Yes, perfect. That is perfect.
It's like, well, at least I know they'll see it because it's on their calendar.
Yes.
Because we've all had the issue like, well, we're not hearing back. And
right.
Again, they're busy,
right.
especially, during the pandemic. And
right.
when I started doing that, I had quite a bit of turnout.
What did Malcolm say? Any means necessary. That's what I'm talking about.
So we had to experiment. Yeah, we had to experiment a lot, but it got their attention. And in some cases, they said, "Oh, I already have this." And I'm like, "Well, if you need any support, we can." So and a lot of the in CPS, a lot of the principals are people of color, and so I felt it was like, "Oh, well, that tactic worked."
Yes. And the thing about Maurie, the thing about paraprofessionals, and Lisa and I were talking about it a little bit before we started recording, but every single school that I've ever worked in, as a principal or as a teacher, just like you said, like they're the bedrock. They're the ones. They don't leave in the numbers that teachers leave in or administrators leave in. They are typically from the community. They're a community resource. All you have to say is, I need blank for an event. Oh, I know who could do that. But a lot of times what I've pushed people, I have a number of examples. I've pushed people to say, look, I don't care what we got to do to get you back in school, but you're getting ready to get a teaching license, because from what I'm looking at, like you, and they don't consider themselves a teacher. Like, you are a teacher. You're a teacher, you're a leader, you're an asset. And most of the time, like 90% of the time, it's either I'm scared to go back to school because I don't feel like my skill set is right, or I have student loans that would prevent me from going back to school. And now it looks like there might be a moratorium on student loans. So I'm just saying, like, this seems like a time. Lisa, what do you think?
Oh, I was just agreeing. This is the time. This is the time to encourage parapros, members of the community, step up. You're the resource for the future. You are the teacher, and you can be. And I think, to Maurie's point, his great idea about just reaching out to them directly made such a difference. They feel like they're being invited, right?
Yes.
I have the privilege of doing information sessions virtually with Maurie. It's about building community from that very moment when we first bring them to a session, getting to know them, answering all their questions. And then most recently, we've been asking at the end, what is your barrier? What is, let's put out your fear. What is it? And talk about that, and often it's the finance piece. But we've got many resources, and I feel like this is the time that we can really make a difference in encouraging, paras to move ahead. So
yes,
that's our teachers.
So that is like, it's an untapped resource. And while we're talking about, the number of teachers who'll be leaving and all the teacher shortages,
Right.
it's an untapped resource right there in our buildings.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple more questions. This one is, during your tenure, and Lisa, 22 years at NLU, I'm sure you have a bunch of stories, but during your tenure, what is something you've accomplished in your position? A story, something about which you're most proud?
I just have found such joy in hearing back from people that are out there teaching. I would say most of my time I've worked with those MAT students, really afraid up front, really concerned, really worried about, will this work, and helping them lean into uncertainty, I guess. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
Because if you're able to do that, you can let go of some of the fears and be a little more trusting about the process, right?
Yes.
Taking one thing at a time, not getting overwhelmed.
Yes.
You're gonna take this baby step and then the next step. And I think we have the responsibility of walking people through that,
Yes.
And I think most of us take that real seriously, which I feel like is how we are different than other universities. And
Yes.
that's what makes me really proud.
Yes.
So yeah, don't worry about the numbers. Look at the person that's in front of you and really embrace them and work with them. So.
And Lisa, with the MAT students, so that is for people who are in education who might be listening,
Yes.
the Masters of Arts in Teaching, typically they are career changers, right?
Yes, they are.
And when they are there certain careers that people are coming from? Are there certain things that people need in order to be able to apply for the program, or is it open to anybody who has a bachelor's degree?
Anyone that has a bachelor's degree. That's the beauty of it. I would say stories that we've heard are that person who was not encouraged to go into teaching. Maybe we had the myth that you didn't make enough money, or you could do other things. And so there's that person. There's also the individual that did move into a different career and just realized, oh my goodness, I have children now. I love working with them. I want to give back. I really want to make a difference.
Yes.
People come from all different walks of life. I mean, even with our secondary, especially the middle school secondary, we have attorneys, we have physicians, that realize, oh my goodness, this is what I want to do to make a difference.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I think that's what's always kept me really excited about working with folks that are making that reach.
Awesome. Okay, Maurie, what's your proud moment?
I think I have to say, again, sharing information. Lisa, I think, I can't remember, but when we started holding these sessions ourselves, was it the start of 2021? Okay. So we started having these sessions and reaching out directly to the paraprofessionals, teacher aides, SICAs, and sharing information about the different, like the Teach Grant, the Minority Teacher Scholarship, gateways if they're early childhood, teacher loan forgiveness. And I encourage people to talk, if they are in the classroom already in those positions, talk to your principal, your assistant principal, find out if there is a tuition reimbursement program, find out what are the caveats of it. And if they don't have one, like CPS does not have one, say, what money is out there?
Yes.
Let them know that this is what you want to do and ask that question. So encouraging them to have those conversations and letting them know that, well, if they don't have a tuition reimbursement program, there is a professional development line item that some will use as a way to support those trying to further their education.
That's perfect.
So some people go, oh, I never thought of that. So I have encouraging them. There's a program there's an organization I learned about last year called Grow Your Own, which I didn't know was an actual organization. I've heard the term Grow Your Own, but there's an organization called Grow Your Own, where they work with students that are trying to get their Pell, whether it's at the bachelor's level or at the graduate level, and they provide a lot of financial support, 25,000 up to $25,000 in forgivable loans, which would be forgiven if they work in a low-income school for 5 years.
Perfect.
Provide a lot of academic support. So that's a program they have to apply to, but it provides a lot of support. So sharing information like that, encouraging them to have their conversations, those conversations with administrators, I feel good helping empower people with that information.
That, you know, that's what makes National Louis feel different to me, because there's not a lot of universities where you can actually find a person. What I found is if I have a question or an issue, no matter, even if I reach out to the wrong person initially, they're going to get me to the right person, even if it takes a minute. I get to the right person and I get a response. That's why I kind of love my job. But anyway, so here's our final question. I always end with a quote, and this time you guys made me think of, you two made me think of a Nelson Mandela quote that says, it always seems like it's impossible until it's done. How does that apply to, I know it applies to a lot of things that we've talked about today, but like, what are your ideas about how that applies to our work and to your work specifically?
I think about leaning into community. I think about, that's really what it's about. And I feel like National Louis, I think our core is about community.
Yes.
And kind of based in love. And that is what makes us really different. I think we don't always make the right choices, but we often realize it and try to do better. And I think for all of us on the journey, whatever journey you're on, that's what life's about. And yeah, I love that quote. That's, there's not an end point, but
Yes.
And it does feel like we're struggling. And yeah, you have to remind yourself that that's what the journey's about.
Yes.
We're just working towards something that we know is good for all of us. So
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Hey,
you.
Maurie, take us home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa had a great idea, and I moved on it. Talking about community. I live in Chicago, so the ward that I live in is the 33rd ward, and I've reached out to them because I've worked with the ward before to have an information session for the community. To try to see, there are a number of elementary schools and high schools in the ward, and there could be parents that want to get into education. So we're going to have an information session next week geared for the residents of the ward to talk about National Louis University opportunities, ways to become a teacher. And that was an idea that Lisa had. And Lisa, I have to remind you about something else you did. You had reached out to the, is it the PTA?
Oh, right. Yeah.
The PTA group. So, parents, again, that, they have children, and some may want to get or could be interested in becoming teachers. So trying to work with the community or trying to educate or have those conversations with school administrators to say, look, there are resources around you that could be your future teachers in your building or in your district.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Well, thank you two so very much. I know if I were a person looking for either a career change, if I were a para looking to get my degree, or somebody looking to just figure out what National Louis does for its students and staff members, I would be excited about what you guys talked about. But thank you so very much for being guests on Urban Legends, and I will see you at the office.
Okay.